A professional counselor in the Dallas area is growing in popularity for his treatment methods.
How do you talk to kids about terror? And with social media and television, it's everywhere, and it's unavoidable for kids.
Rusty Lozano is the founder of the Center for Biofeedback and Behavior Therapy. He's also been nationally recognized for his work with brain mapping.
He's created a gym to work out the mind. His office features an obstacle course.
Rusty Lozano is a licensed professional counselor, helping children with headaches, with anxiety, ADHD, and more.
Here's where Lozano comes in. He teaches kids how to think their pain away with something called biofeedback.
A North Texas therapist is treating patients in this unconventional way.
We have Rusty Lozano who's joining us today. He's a licensed professional counselor.
We put together an unusual treatment for teenagers who are struggling with mental issues, except he's taking this now a step further.
Rusty Lozano, a leading therapist and pediatric biofeedback therapist based in Texas at the Center for Biofeedback and Behavior Therapy. And Rusty, thanks for being with us tonight.
Rusty Lozano, a father of 4 and also a professional counselor in Texas, says it's all about being a credible resource to your children.
The Therapy Hour with Rusty Lozano, your dedicated resource for mental health news, views, and tips you can use. Brought to you by the Center for Biofeedback and Behavior Therapy in Addison, Texas. And now, here's Rusty.
Really had a lot of time to spend with family, talking with kids, catching up, goofing off, eating lots of food, and then really talking to the kids and actually learning a lot of things. Learning a lot of things that kind of blew my mind as far as what they're up to. This show is brought to you by the Center for Biofeedback and Behavior Therapy. Thank you for joining us. Our topic today is, what are they up to? What are our kids doing on the internet these days? What sorts of apps? What sorts of websites? What sorts of social networking sites are they actually are they cluing in on and checking in with? So what better way to learn about this than to actually learn and hear it from the horse's mouth? So we have a bunch of kids here with us today. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 kids. We have Abby, who's 17. Hello, Abby.
Hi.
We have Haley, who's 13. Hello.
Hello.
And Brooke, who is 14.
Hi.
Oh, did I get that backwards? You're 13, right? Sorry. 13. Haley's 14. Hannah, who's 12.
Hi.
And then we have the little guys over here. We have Drew, who is 11.
Hi.
And Harrison, who is 10.
Hi.
Are you guys ready to go back to school?
No.
No?
Never.
It goes by way too fast, doesn't it, guys? But the good thing is you only have to be at school for what, another 2 or 3 weeks, and then you're off? And then you get 2 weeks off or so? Is that how it works?
Yeah.
3 weeks? Oh, that's pretty cool. Well, listen, guys, I want to thank you for coming in and hanging out with me today for an hour. And we're going to talk about what sorts of things you guys are up to. Now, what I want to do is kind of talk about, like, why I want to do this topic, why it's important. I guess a few years back, my daughter, who is now 20, was spending the night. She must have been, about 13 years old. And she had a friend over, and they were, goofing around in the room and getting on these websites with an iPad. And then we discovered that she was actually on a website called Omegle. And what Omegle is, and I didn't know about this, I actually learned about it later. But what Omegle is you log on to this website, and it will link you up to a random person. And you don't know who this person is. You actually, it's a you can either do it through video, or you can actually do it through chat. And you don't know who these people are, but I think you have like 15 or 30 seconds of interacting with each other. And so you ask these questions, and you don't have any contact information. You don't know where they're from. You can ask those questions, but there's no identification. And so some of the things that, because we kind of track usage on our kids' internet usage at home. And so when we were looking it up, we can actually see their conversation. And some of the things that were coming out of this little chat were just flooring me. And so I got on myself, and I logged in, and the first thing, it linked me up with somebody. You don't know if you're speaking to male or female, but it linked me up to somebody. And the first question out of their mouth was this little ASL question mark. And that stands for age, sex, and location. And so then you answer that, and you know if you're speaking to either a boy or a girl, male or female. And then the conversation quickly took off in a direction that just, I was wowed, you know. And so our kids are actually being exposed to this. So there are many other websites like this. And, you know, this is something that I didn't realize, but these websites kind of go out of style. First thing I ever learned about was MySpace. And I thought MySpace was pretty cool because you could build your page and you can listen to you can add music to it, put pictures up, post it. And then apparently that got old because Facebook came around. And so I thought MySpace is still pretty cool. Guess I'm an old fart, you know. And but MySpace is cool, and then here comes Facebook, and Facebook same kind of ordeal. And so, but now the trend is that Facebook, according to the millennials today, I learned Facebook is for old people, and so these kids are moving on, and like these websites go out of style. They lose trend, and so there's consistently new things that are developing online and apps. And so what we want to do is maybe kind of get a little update on what some of these are. And because, you know what's important, kids? You know, when I was growing up, and there are a couple of parents in here with me right now, when we would interact with people, we would actually go up and talk to them and look at them face to face, or slip a note in the hallway, you know, as you're walking by, or hang out after school, or hang out at people's homes on the weekend. But now it's like you guys don't, I guess that still exists, but you guys don't do that as much. You kind of keep up more on a daily basis. You keep up through social networking and apps. And, of course, that's where we are today. So what I want to do is I want to talk to the little guys, Harrison and Drew, and talk to you guys a little bit about, how you doing? Talk to you guys a little bit about how you make friends. What do you do when you get online? Harrison.
Well, we, like, on Instagram, we look at people's pictures and stuff, and we can like them. And
you're on Instagram? Okay. You look at people's pictures. I didn't know that. You look at people's pictures?
Yes.
And what else do you do?
You can like them.
You ever make any friends on Instagram?
No.
No? You ever meet new people?
Kind of.
Kinda. How about you, Drew? What do you do?
I normally just I don't really have the social media apps, so I normally just text. But normally I would just call or talk to them face to face.
You text your friends?
Not often.
You have your own phone?
Yes.
Okay, and then when you talk to them face to face, what do you call them on the phone, and then what do you guys talk about?
We normally talk about what has been happening in our lives, and about upcoming events and sports, and our lives and about like what we have to do, and maybe we can have like a sleepover, or
Cool.
come over to each other's house and play.
That's awesome. So you actually talk about friends and like hanging out and coming together?
Yes, sir.
Have you guys heard of any other things that you can do online? You have heard of any of these cool apps that these kids are using these days? What do you know?
I know of a couple apps like Kick, Facebook, Uvu.
What's Uvu?
Uvu was originally set up to be a dating website, but then I think no one really liked it, so it just turned into like a texting. When you don't have really phones, you have like iPods, so you can just get apps and
You can get on through your iPod.
yes.
How did you find out about Uvu?
A lot of my friends in school are just talking about it. And I once originally had it, and then I got tired of it maybe 2 days in, because I didn't really like it.
Anything ever really creep you out while you're on Uvu?
Yes, I see a lot of strangers that look like they want to like get information off people and then go harm them.
That worries you. So you're actually, you know to stay clear of things like that. But you also hear about all these things from friends, and you hear about them at school. Yeah?
Yes, sir.
So what else have what else are you doing? What else have you heard of? How do you spell Uvu?
OOVOO.
Okay, thank you. Harrison, do you have something to say?
There's like Twitter. I see my teachers on it all the time.
Twitter's a cool one, yeah.
And then like Facebook, I see my teachers on it also.
So you can see a lot of your teachers and kind of hear about what they're doing.
Yeah.
Things like that. That's pretty neat. Have you heard of anything else?
Instagram. Wait, no. Snapchat.
And how'd you hear about Snapchat?
I see my sisters on it all the time.
So you see your older sisters, and you kind of wonder what they're up to. That's one way that, I wouldn't even think that it would affect like younger kids, but some things that you see these kids doing and you hear about your siblings being on them, that you learn about them too. We're talking to these kids about what are they up to. We'll be right back after the break. We're back. If you're just joining us, we're talking to these kids about what are they up to. Apps, websites, social networking sites that these kids are using these days. Pretty funny. At the break, Drew's sister Abby is here, and when Drew was talking about Uvu, Abby said she had this horrified look on her face. And she couldn't believe that he was on that website. And then also, Drew, you just got a text from your mom. Actually, she texted Abby and said, "I want to see your iPod when you get home." Way to go, Mom. Good job, parents. We need to keep on these guys and make sure that we're on the straight and narrow. I want to move on to Hannah. She's 12. So we have these kids. Drew's 11. Harrison's 10. Hannah's 12. She's kind of that in-betweeny. How you doing, Hannah?
Hi.
You want to put your headphones on, hon? Yeah, come on up to the mic. So we were talking about how Harrison is using Facebook, or no, he was actually using Instagram, and he heard about it from his sisters, and now you guys are learning about all kinds of things. What sorts of things have you heard of, and do you use? You're on your phone quite a bit, yes?
Yeah.
What sorts of websites, what kind of apps do you use, kid?
There's this app. It's called Photo.
A little closer.
Photo, and there's Photo, Instagram, and Snapchat. That's what I usually use.
What's Photo?
Photo, it's where you take 3 pictures, and then it kind of moves. Like the 3 pictures move.
And they move, and then what happens when they move? What do people say something about them? Do they make comments?
Yeah, you can like it and you can comment on it. Yeah.
Okay, so you take a picture of yourself, like a selfie, and then you post it on Photo, and then people can comment on it?
Yeah.
Okay. You use that one a lot?
Daily, yeah.
Daily? And what about Instagram and Snapchat?
Instagram, I go on a lot. I don't really post, but I usually just like see what my friends are up to.
Mm-hmm. And they leave kind of pictures and hashtags, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're going to talk about that. So what sorts of things do you learn? What sorts of things do you hear about your friends doing? You ever see anything that kind of creeps you out?
Not really, because I only follow my friends, and I only let my friends follow me, and I don't follow any strangers.
Oh, that's smart. So you will filter out who will be on your Snapchat. You can decide who's there and who's not.
Mm-hmm.
Do some people try to get in that you don't know?
Yeah.
Yeah? What do you do when you see that?
Since my thing is on private, and there will be requests, and you can easily decline it.
I mean, have some of those requests you've been kind of curious about, and maybe you're thinking, yeah, maybe I'll friend them. They look kind of cool.
Yeah.
He's cute or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it kind of makes you think that maybe I'll add them, but you don't.
No.
Only friends.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What about Snapchat? That seems to be the newer one. Would you guys agree? Is that kind of the most up to date?
Yeah, I'd say.
Okay, so that's where all you little millennials are right now, right? Snapchat. So tell me about Snapchat. How do you use Snapchat?
There's this little button on your phone, and you press down, and that's how you take a picture. And then if you hold it down, you can take a video like that. And if you send it to a friend, it's usually like you can only see it once. So there's maybe once or twice you'll be able to replay it.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah.
What sort of websites do you ever go to any websites?
I go on Pinterest.
Pinterest? That's pretty cool. You can kind of see a lot of pictures. A lot of these seem to be picture-based, guys. So it's all about pictures, and then people say stuff about it. That seems to be all like what it's all about. That's all MySpace and Facebook was.
Mm-hmm.
These are just different ways of doing it. Pinterest? What else do you do? What else have you heard of?
There's Tumblr and We Heart It.
I'm writing all these down. We what?
We Heart It.
Hard?
Heart It.
Oh, We Heart It. Like a heart. What's We Heart It?
It's where they're like you can look up. It's kind of like Pinterest when you think about it. You can look up something and you can like it, and you can like put it on your and you can put it on your like you can save the pictures, and yeah.
That's pretty cool. So a lot of these about, again, back to pictures. What about you two girls over here, Haley and Brooke? What are you guys up to? What have you heard about?
Most of the time I'm just on Instagram or Snapchat.
Instagram and Snapchat?
There are a lot of different social medias out there. There's this live broadcasting app called YouNow, and sometimes I go on that and watch people. Or I actually go live and broadcast with my friend.
What is You Now?
It's like a live stream, and like people watch you and you do these different activities, and then people can comment and talk about.
I've actually heard of You Now. They actually have one where it's like the sleep crew. What is that called?
Sleeping Squad.
The Sleeping Squad.
Yeah.
And what these guys do is they set up a camera and they just film themselves sleeping, or they will post themselves sleeping.
Yeah.
And people follow that?
Some people do. I don't really do that. It's kind of weird.
So you just watch them sleep.
Yeah.
That's basically all you do.
Yeah.
That's kind of weird. It's like, what's the fun of that? So You Now, so you've been on You Now?
Yes.
And how do you use that? I mean, what's the point of You Now? I'm just curious.
Well, normally I just watch people and they do different activities, and you just watch what they do. A lot of people do fun activities, and yeah, you can like discover like people who actually become like pretty popular. Like under singing, there's a lot of talented people and stuff like that.
So they sing, They sleep. They play music like musicians.
Yeah.
And what else? I mean, they just broadcast themselves kind of chatting and
Yeah.
just talking about stuff, and you can interact with them.
Yes.
And how do you do that?
You just comment and then they'll just respond while they're broadcasting.
Have you ever done that before? You ever actually launched a YouNow?
Yeah.
What is that like? I mean, do people say hurtful things sometimes? Or
No.
You ever get any creepies on
No,
there?
and if they would, you can just block them and they can't comment anymore.
Okay, so there's a way you can actually filter that.
Yeah.
So has anybody, like when you do YouNow, how long do you stay on and how many people watch?
Maybe like 30 minutes to an hour, and it depends on like what time. Like me and my friend go live sometimes, and maybe like 10 people watch for a while.
And they watch you and they comment and then they. Do you now too, Brooke?
No, I've never done anything that involves like streaming or anything like that.
Nothing like that.
Well, kind of. Like
but you use Snapchat.
Yeah.
So how do you use Snapchat?
So you take either a video or just a picture, and then you can send it to some of your friends, or you can add it to your story where everyone who follows you on Snapchat can see it. So that's kind of how it works.
So let me ask you guys this. Would you prefer to do that over talking or calling them on the phone?
In some cases, I'd rather like talk to people online than in person, but with a lot of my friends, I'd rather talk to them in person.
Yeah.
Why is that? Why would you rather talk to them in some cases?
Some people are just easier to talk to than others, whereas you have to think more about what you're saying and stuff.
Oh, like conversation skills.
Yes.
Kind of deal. So there's some people that have stronger social skills, stronger conversation skills, and it's easier to interact with.
Yeah.
And the ones, do you find that the ones that tend to be on Instagram that they have better conversation skills?
Sometimes there's so many people on Instagram that it's such a wide selection of people, so there's no way to really tell.
There's no way to tell. I see. Interesting. Any other websites you guys have ever heard of or you use?
I used to go on Tumblr, but
Yeah,
it's
it's not really cool anymore.
Well, it is, but I just don't use it.
What? All right, so let me ask you. So what determines if something's cool or not anymore? Is it when parents start showing up there and snooping around, or what?
Yeah.
Does it kind of blow it for you
my
guys?
mom has every single social media out there just to snoop on me.
Just to snoop on you?
Yeah.
So wherever you go, she goes.
Yeah.
That's pretty smart, Mom. Good job. Abby,
Hi.
you were 17, and I started out, I actually wanted to use you last because, you probably have heard a lot of these, and then you probably know some that these kids actually don't, yeah?
Yes.
So what are your thoughts about, what have you heard about using these online apps, and what are you doing? What are kids your age doing?
Well, I mean, I think that ages 16, 17, we're trying to be a little more independent, and we're trying to get away from our parents a little more than most are. So, I mean, I feel like I'm one of the different kids. I'm okay if my mom sees my Instagram or my Snapchat. I actually Snapchat her sometimes. I mean, call me a loser, but and I'm Facebook friends with her, all that stuff. But
That's actually really cool.
But I see a lot of people that I follow on Instagram, some kids at my school, and it kind of scares me and it makes me a little uncomfortable seeing like what they wear at night or what they are doing on their Saturdays off, and it's just kind of worrying me. Like I know that some of their profiles are public are public, and it's just kind of scary knowing that like there are millions of people on Instagram or on Snapchat that could easily see what you're doing and what you're wearing, and so they could easily get your information.
Gotcha. You know what? We're going to pick that up when we come back. If you're just joining us, we're talking to these kids about what are they up to, apps, social networking sites, websites. Be right back after the break. We are back from the break. If you're just joining us, we're talking to kids ranging in age from 10 to 17 about what are they up to, about the apps, websites, social networking sites that these kids are using today. And I'm actually learning a lot. You guys are schooling me on a lot of this stuff. I thought it was pretty up to date, but these just keep coming out. And it's interesting. I probably wouldn't have heard about this until it wouldn't be cool anymore, and then I guess that's when parents show up and a site isn't cool anymore, right? So you guys are really disclosing a lot of the precious jewels, like where you guys are hiding out. We're talking to Abby. She's 17, and Abby was talking about some of these sites that some older kids are using. Abby, we left off with talking about Tumblr. Was it Tumblr?
I was talking about Instagram.
Instagram, sorry. Okay. Tell me about Instagram. How do you use Instagram as a 17-year-old?
I mean, I don't like to post more than once a week. I feel like my face would get a little annoying sometimes. But I know that I see a lot of some people that I like to call my friends, and their profiles be kind of scary. I mean, I'm trying to get into college this year, so knowing that my college could be seen when I'm posting, it kind of worries me. So that's why I make sure to go through everything that I have, and I reread my post more than once, because they know, oh, if I see her with some alcohol, that's not going to be someone I want on my campus causing trouble. Or if I see them smoking something, then I'm not going to want them in school. So I'm really careful about what I post and who I post with, especially like if I go to a family party. So I'll need to make sure that there's no alcohol anywhere in the picture, so I won't get caught with anything like that might even be in the background.
That's interesting, and that's probably something that's good for you guys to hear, because sometimes being at your age, and even the little guys, you don't think too much about, how what you post and what you say is going to affect you, and how people are going to think about that. What are they going to think about you? What kind of person are you? So you're very careful then to filter what you say, what you do, how you're projected, because it can actually have long-term effects. And what's interesting? I've actually heard of people losing their jobs because of things that they've said about either a boss or things that they've said about or things that they've done, and then all of a sudden, that affects them, and they lose their job. And that's a personal, private, website or personal, private entity that has nothing to do with your work, but it's out there, and then it can reflect poorly on you and reflect poorly on the job.
Yeah, I think that an app called Twitter is really bad about that, because I know that a lot of people, teenagers especially, would retweet something, so they didn't make the tweet, they didn't originally think about it, but they retweeted it, and if it has some kind of innuendo and a school sees that, then and they pick up on that innuendo, then they're going to see, okay, I don't want this person as a member of this college, or I don't want this person walking around the halls of this school. And so, I mean, it can affect us somewhere from a few months to years and years later, because, I mean, there was just a few months ago some people who posted a very racist video in Oklahoma, and so they are getting threats. They're actually in a lot of trouble. So
yeah, that could have some pretty serious repercussions.
Yes.
On the break, you guys mentioned two more apps. Two more are they apps or are they websites?
Apps.
One is called Tinder, and the other is Musically. You actually mentioned Tinder.
Yes.
What is Tinder, and how do you spell that?
Tinder, Tinder. It can range for, I mean, you have to have a Facebook account with it, but it can range from a hookup site to just making friends to having a long-term relationship. And I've seen some friends who've had it, and they found people who are 14 years old, and I'm pretty sure you have to be 16 to be on it. And so seeing kids that have their age 14 and that can message you is pretty scary. I mean, what you do is you get on the app and then you see a bunch of pictures and then you've got a small bio. So you can either swipe right if you like them or left if you don't. So being underage, it's kind of scary knowing that someone on Facebook could lie about their age, especially if they're, say, 13 and they want to, if they're 12 and they want a Facebook account, they could say that they're 17. So if a 17-year-old finds a 13-year-old that, or a 12-year-old that might look a little younger than, and then they start messaging each other, that could have some really negative repercussions for not just the 17-year-old, but the 12-year-old too. And so, especially for minors, not really, if parents aren't really on top of them about that, then it can be life-changing for people my age.
Yeah, and you said it actually, that website kind of creeps you out.
It does a little bit because, I mean, you never really know anyone's true intentions online, so it can be kind of scary if someone messages you and they're just like, hey, where do you live? My parents aren't home. Or like, hey, let's meet up. It's like, all I know is what you look like. And that might not even be the real picture. So.
Yeah. And so a lot of judgment there. A lot of people kind of can really learn a lot about you and make you feel uncomfortable and say things, provoke thoughts or provoke ickiness. And so it's these kids actually are exposed to this. And, as parents, I think that we need to kind of, educate our kids to know what's out there and be wary about it. Do you think that parents should be snooping on kids' Instagrams and like their social media sites? And
I don't know if snooping would be the right word
maybe not
for
snooping,
it.
yeah.
I think that parents should be aware of the sites. Like, I think that kids, especially my age and under, their brains aren't fully developed. So, I mean, we aren't really aware of the long-term repercussions of posting something. So I think that parents, maybe they should have an account and maybe they should be following their kids, because if they see something that pops up and they see like a wine glass emoji, then that could go a longer way than saying like, this is alcohol or something. A picture says 1,000 words.
Mm-hmm.
And so if, like on Snapchat, if you post to your story, everyone can see it. So if my mom sees something, she goes, hey, Abby, I don't really like that, so I'll just take it down before anything happens. So I think that parents definitely should see what's on their child's accounts, because it could actually hurt the whole family, because I know that on my Instagram, I just posted something with all 6 of us. So if I had a bad caption, then that not just reflects on me, but it reflects on my 2 brothers, my sister, and my parents.
Mm-hmm.
And so I definitely don't want that to happen.
You don't want that to happen. You don't want to cause any sort of embarrassment. But you're an enlightened kid. I don't imagine that there are very many kids that have that mindset like you. And so as parents, I think that it's important for us to be a part of what's going on and to check your phones and to be okay to have passwords to your accounts. If you want to have it, then you essentially have to go through us. We have to have access. We have to be able to check things and make sure that what you're doing is safe and on the spot, like almost like a drug test where, okay, give me your phone or give me your password, or you actually don't even have to say anything. You just log in and just check. And there should be repercussions for kids that post things and then they delete them. So that's the mindset. Me as a parent, I mean, that's the idea that I have. And I'm actually going to talk to 2 parents here in a little bit. But I want to talk a little bit more to the kids about emojis. Am I saying that right?
Emojis, yes.
Okay. So what is the use of an emoji? And I'm playing dumb here, but how do you use emojis and what's the significance of those?
Okay, so a lot of times if you're talking to someone, their tone could be out of context. So if you're actually happy and someone takes it another way, you could probably use an emoji happy face to find, hey, let's lighten this up a bit, or hey, I'm just joking.
So sarcasm.
Yeah, something like that. And I mean, emojis I think are a bit overused, but they can be helpful at times.
Mm-hmm.
So
What about you girls? What do you think? Emojis?
I think in context they're useful to, like Abby said, lighten up conversations, but the majority of kids, I think, overuse them by like spamming 50 of the same emoji over and over.
Ugh.
The same ones over and over again. You know what it makes me wonder? It makes me think that, these are skills that you should be developing by being out there and actually having conversations, by going out and interacting with these kids and saying, hey, that hurt my feelings, or hey, that upset me. But now we're using cartoons to do it. I mean, am I out of line here by saying that, or?
No, not at all. I think that in some cases, things shouldn't be said over text. I mean, I think that's when cyberbullying gets in the way, and I think that's also a big issue. But a lot of the time, you should be talking to someone face to face, so they would know like what you actually mean. So, like, instead, if you're saying, hi, I really like you, to a boy or a girl, you wouldn't want to say that over text, because honestly, if you're really sincere about it, then you'd probably want to tell that person face to face.
Gotcha. It's important to do so. When we come back from the break, we're actually going to talk to two parents and see what their perspective is on what are they up to in these apps and social media sites. And have a little discussion. And we actually may open up the guest line and see if there's anybody who'd like to call in. Back after the break. We're back from the break. If you were just joining us, we're talking to kids and now parents about what are they up to. Websites, apps, social networking sites. I want to open up the guest line. You've never done this before. 214-866-8400. If there are any parents or anybody who'd like to chime in and maybe say a few things and contribute to the show. But what I do want to do is welcome two parents, Dan and Aaron. These are two different parents. And kind of have a little discussion about, well, as parents, what do we do? We're learning about these kids. We're learning what these kids are up to. I haven't heard of any of these, and there's a few we haven't even mentioned yet. Well, actually, I take that back. I haven't heard some of these other ones that they've mentioned, like Tinder, Musical.ly. Man, I feel old. Uvu. So, what do we do as parents? I mean, what are your thoughts on what's going on in the trend? What can we do as parents to protect our kids? Do you have any ideas on that? Any opinions, Dan?
Yeah, I sure do. I think, the biggest concern is just, as you had mentioned earlier with the discussions with some of the kids here, is that, with, comparing our childhood to what kids do now, these are by far more interesting and intelligent times, so to speak. The biggest concern as a parent, I've given up trying to keep up what the new app is and what they're doing and where they're doing it and stuff like that. My biggest concern is, what's expressed in the written word and in photographs and the permanency of that. And I think where we have the edge with our children is that we've coached them up very well in regards to what the internet world is. Mm-hmm. And it's everything. It's just like real life. When we were growing up as kids, our daycare was go down to the lake, go outside, go in the backyard, go play. And that's how we occupied our time. Today kids do it, locally. They stay in the house and they can be all over the world talking and visiting and Instagramming and all that stuff. And, it's not any more dangerous world in my eyes. One of the guests here talked about, an OU student that was in a fraternity that posted a racist video that, got him a lot of, social media backlash, threats. They've had to move out of their home and stuff like that. There are things been said since the beginning of the time that were horrible. Teens especially are learning societal norms, learning good and bad parenting. And, I think the burden that social media brings to these kids is the permanency. You post it or you print it, you have to try real hard to make it go away. And so with our children, what we've preached is, the boogeyman can't jump out of your phone. You've got to go to the boogeyman. Okay, so we don't lose sleep over that anymore. What we do lose sleep over is what they participate in, what's said or what's posted, because that is forever. And then also being
I want to mention something really quick. What's interesting about something that you just said about the permanency of a post. I actually had a family that did investigate. I'm also a counselor, and I work with families and kids, but there were some very negative things written about their daughter, and they wanted to retract it. And so we started to go through the process of investigating like how to do that. And it was going to cost tens of thousands of dollars in order to erase that post. Then you're at the mercy of the person that actually posted it, and then getting in touch with them can be a really difficult thing.
Yeah, that's the most frightening thing. I mean, I grew up in a neighborhood that had, for the lack of a better term, 20 to 30 feral kids. I mean, we managed ourselves socially for the good or the bad, and we became who we are now. There were, just like everybody else's teen years, there are horrible things said and done, mentally, physically, verbally, what have you. But the passage of time and memory heals those wounds. The bad thing now is that the things that offend us the most are out there printed, pictures are taken, videos are posted, they go viral, which is every parent's nightmare now. It's not so much your kid saying something bad at school, being put in timeout or put in after-school suspension. That used to be the problem when we were children. Now is, wow, my kid will post or say something, and it'll be posted, go viral, and we'll have 6 million hits, and most of them sending around hate and nothing to do with forgiveness and get over it.
Right.
These kids are just teens. I don't think any child should post something and have to pay for that. For the lack of a better term, look, the teen years are rife with bad decisions
and judgment. I think Facebook they got a lot of heat. It took a lot of heat because they're actually going to start incorporating a dislike button.
Yep.
That's instant judgment. And I think that these kids, they start out real curious or real innocent, and they get into these social media things, and then all of a sudden, like they're facing, they get confident and they post more things out there, not realizing like how it's going to affect them. Like kind of what Abby is saying. Obviously there's some experience there that you've either heard about or learned about that's made you be very wary about what you say and what you do out there. Aaron, what are your thoughts about these kids doing things and posting and the repercussions of your posts and how judgment can actually be passed on you?
Well, I think as parents, our first job is to educate our kids on the advantages and the scariness that the internet has to offer. It can do lots of wonderful things for us, but it can also be a scary sight for these kids. And so we have to make sure that we teach them how to appropriately deal with it. And then as parents, we also have to, like you asked Abby, if we should snoop. I think we should snoop.
We call it snooping. They don't consider it snooping, but as parents, snoop.
That's
I think
part
that's
of our job.
What we have to do.
Absolutely.
We have to get in there, and we have to know that there's a filter, and they know that, well, if we find out about this, there are going to be repercussions. So there's still disciplinary action, the discipline that we can incorporate on them and come down on them for making bad decisions because they don't know.
Yep.
They're not really aware of like what they can actually, how this can affect them.
Correct.
Well, and also with that regard, I mean, there's some aspects to what you say I believe in wholeheartedly. But what also is the community, you find strength within it. And what you learn is the good kids stick up for other kids. And so with the Instagram postings and stuff like that, the kids self-police. They report. We had an instance with our older daughter where something negative was said, and then 2 or 3 kids in the community stood up for that kid, reported the negative post, and it was removed. So they're able to handle themselves. I always try to compare my children's childhood with social media to my own, and how do these things get fixed? How do we intervene when necessary? When do we leave it be? And it's a tough thing because all the things that we said and did as children in the absence of our parents, they knew nothing about, and we formed it and became adults. Mm-hmm. Is our intervention necessary? Is it overburdening? Do we stifle? Are we in areas of our children's life that we shouldn't be? It's a tough call. I don't know what the right answer is. You bring up some very good points, but remember our childhood and the things we did and said, and the places we went, and the things we did formed us in who we are now without parental intervention.
Right.
It's a interesting dynamic.
It's a balance, isn't it? I mean,
Exactly.
because on the one hand, you want them to be leathered and learn from their mistakes and learn through these concepts, but on the other hand, we're nervous. I mean, this is not something that we grew up with. If they were having the same type of childhood that we were, we can give them hints on how to climb a tree, how to build a tree house, how to go crawdad fishing. Different things that we've experienced, but now we're in a really unknown area. I mean, we're new to this, and as far as we had some friends over for dinner the other night, and they said that Facebook is for old people, and the kids actually, the kids said that even on the way over here that old people took over. We took over Facebook, and so they scurried off to some other site. And so I think as parents and our generation, we really don't know. We're in a new frontier, and these kids are way ahead of us, super smart. They're able to do things. They're shrinking our intelligence to a lot of computer things, and they can do it lickety split, like in a split second. Build a website, make a collage of music with pictures, and they're learning these things that we never had ideas about. We just know that the negative part of it, which is abduction and getting these pics that kids send that they regret, like showing body parts and trading them. I know that there was an article here about 2 or 3 weeks ago that was written about a big scandal in Colorado where these kids were actually trading nude pics of kids that were sent. They were private messages, private pics that were sent. And they came down, they busted these kids. It was a network of trading these pics, and they were like people that they were at school with in college, and they busted the whole ring. And so they were deciding, should these kids actually face adult-type persecution? Should they have consequences that are adult-esque, as if they committed a heinous crime? And as a parent, you're kind of torn, because on the one end, you see that the atrocity of it, but on the other end, they're kids, and how are they supposed to learn, right? I mean, they learn through mistakes, and we want to watch them do that. We want to watch them grow and thrive and make mistakes, but at the same time, I mean, some of these things that they're doing are pretty hard hitting. I mean, it's not spilling paint in the garage anymore. These are very life damaging decisions that they're doing and that they're making, and it will follow them. And it can actually haunt them. So I think parents being able to educate the kids and be really involved in their life. Start up a conversation. Have the passcodes. Call it snooping. Either you can be a force of, I'm going to watch everything that you do, or be more collaborative, kind of like what Abby was saying with their parents, and they have conversations. But really important things for us to kind of keep in mind. And knowing that we're in an era that is continually evolving, websites and apps continue to develop, and we learn about them as parents much later in life. So keep up with the trends. Do your research. Ask the kids. Have conversations. Have passwords. You've been listening to the Therapy Hour with Rusty Lozano. Tune in next week. We're going to talk about adult headaches. I really appreciate you guys tuning into the show, and have a great weekend. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.